But I do know Chad. I know a little bit about Chad. He has a business called the Elements of Life, and I'm like, look at him. And basically, he's a superfood expert. So I look forward to any information you could share about many of the products that your company provides. Would you like to share with us a little bit about your company?
Well, basically, you know, I'm here part of a movement. The companies are going to be there. There's a ton of companies. Companies are wonderful and fine. But really, I came to this experience of eating raw food to literally save my life. And from there, when you go from injury or ill health to baseline, that can feel like a world of difference. But what I'm here now for is because I realized that somewhere along the way, we realized that we've got to ask ourselves the question, what are people for? And that's what I'm here for, is to find the edge of the definition of what it means to be alive in a human body. How good can it get? How good can it feel? What happens if we're just not trying to escape a health problem? What happens if we treat our body like a living, crystal, pulsing temple? What happens when we start to realize that what elements we put in our body actually affect our brain waves, our thought patterns, the ability to maintain a positive outlook in life? You know, our ability to manifest abundance in the world. Think about it. If you are deficient in abundance at the cellular level, missing all the elements in the periodic table, the cells are in contraction and they're cringing. And at that point, you're in scarcity consciousness at the cellular level, and there's a subconscious ripple. I'm here to help people embrace their abundance, their love, and use dietary choices to do it. And the superfoods are really a high-octane way to achieve that. And there's many superfoods. We can talk all about that this afternoon at 5 o'clock.
I'm next. Next, we have Queen Afua, who has been on the path for at least 35 years. And she is a holistic health expert. She's also a yoga instructor, and she's a fasting specialist. So she has a volume of experience to share with us. Would you introduce yourself?
Yes. I'm following Chad, standing up. Yes, I am here to help you to raise your frequency, because I know that we don't all start off on raw foods. And so we have to know how to get there. We all want to get there. We all made the effort to get there. We all tried to get there. And we came to something like this wonderful weekend before, and we were there, and it lasted until the following week. And we fell off, and we prayed to get back on again. So it's about raising the frequency, and how can you get there? So what I have a book. One of the, Ellen came, and she showed me the book from 20 years ago. And she said, I have your first book, Heal Thyself. It was written 20-some years ago. But since then, a lot of growth has happened. So I'm helping you to go to 7 kitchens of consciousness. The first kitchen I would make mention of is the soul food kitchen, bringing all your families together. Because you know what happens when you change your diet, your families look at you like, what are you doing? Because the food is the love, the relationship. That's what keeps us together. That's what we have in common. So I talk about how to have foods in the family so the family can trust you as you start to heal yourself. Then I teach about the second kitchen, the manifestation kitchen, your 9-to-5 kitchen. How do you get there, and what do you do with that? Because we can knock ourselves out in the middle of the day, and after work, after you come from lunch, you're exhausted, you're tired. Low frequency cook, overcook, microwave, fast food, processed foods. And then after you go through the cleansing and the education, going from the soul to the manifestation kitchen, then you can start to move more into the live food kitchen. So I'll talk about the live food kitchen and how to live a fully live body in a live way, in a live state of consciousness, but you're raising the frequency up. The 7 kitchens of consciousness is based on the chakra system and how to move up the ladder from the live food kitchen to the emerald green kitchen, where you're predominantly taking a lot of greens, healing foods, sun foods to give you the vitality, from the emerald kitchen to the fastest kitchen. When the sun goes down, we begin to fast and cleanse deeper. We drop the weight. We get the energy. We wake up with energy. We don't have a food hangover. Teach you how to overcome that food hangover and be walking around eating food all night long and falling asleep on the food and waking up miserable and heavy as opposed to energized, and moving you up into the healer's kitchen. When you heal yourself enough and raise your vibration, how to then help others, family and friends. And I have this affirmation saying that I am a healer and I can heal myself. And all my relations, for all my relations are my reflection, moving us into the final kitchen which is the Liberation Kitchen, where now you go into the community, and as a movement, you begin to help heal, and it spread the wellness to the entire global community. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we have our special guest, Deborah Secunda. And Deborah, I'm so pleased that she could make it today. She did get into a car accident at the beginning of this weekend, and we had several lectures that she was planned to teach, and I really admire her passion, her enthusiasm to be here today. I know how much Deborah loves the expo, so I really admire her courage to be here today. So, and I'd like to introduce her by saying, you know, she creates these wonderful DVDs featuring many raw food experts. Her passion, again, comes through in the work that she does with these DVDs. And she's featured Ann Wigmore's Natural Health Institute, which has Rio on making wonderful food. Also, Viktoras Kavinskis and Gabriel Cousins. So welcome, Deborah.
Thank you, Donna. Actually, it wasn't a car accident. I was attacked by a huge can of Spam and some cans of creamed corn, and they were brandishing a can opener, and I beat them up, and I won. So I'm hiding under a hat. I have lips like Angelina Jolie. What could be so bad? I'll be fine in a week. The main thing is I'm fine in here. What we all know is there are no accidents. The universe will teach you exactly what you need to know. For me, it's to stop and slow down. I've been working really hard lately. Just came out with this new DVD, which is Green Recipes for Health and Weight Loss. And it's everything that I usually talk about at my talks. Actually, I'm doing a talk right after this. The main thing for anyone that's not familiar with raw foods is it is the raw living food lifestyle. It's not just about eating a salad. You have to learn about probiotics, detoxification, the right exercise, sleep, sunshine. So many elements go into being the healthiest that you can possibly be. This panel and 3 days of an expo is not enough time to really convey how important it is to learn as much as you can and experiment. Each person is an individual. You have to find out what's right for you. What's right for John is not right for Mary. Some people can be 100% raw foodist and be wonderful with it, especially if they're doing the entire raw living food lifestyle. Other people, actually the consensus now is 80% raw, 20% cooked is perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, we call it recreational food when you have your baked sweet potato or your hot lentil soup in the wintertime. I personally find it's much easier to be 100% raw in summer and eating locally and fresh so that the food has its life force intact. Of course, you want to be learning how to sprout your own superfoods. Nature has everything to make you your finest, most energized, healthiest, full of enzymes if you learn to sprout. I mean, these guys are living right up until the time you crunch them. So you want to learn a little bit more about that. A little later on, I don't want to take up too much time in the intro, but there's like 5 easy baby steps to fabulous that you can start tomorrow, today. Simple little changes that will change your life. You can start slowly and embrace raw living foods at your own pace. Some people take to it like that. I learned about it in 1998, and it wasn't until the year 2000 that I really got on the path. And I'm wishing you all good luck with this journey. It's fantastic once you get into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Rio, who's, my goodness, I started on the raw path 21 years ago, and Rio was already well into it. And she's been a real inspiration
Well, don't
to me.
age me.
Oh, but look how beautiful and youthful she is. I don't,
Thank you.
I don't know how old you are, but I know you look so young.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Well, you said Queen of Fool was in it 35 years, and she looks like she's 30, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
under other circumstances, Deborah looks wonderful too.
But I wanted to introduce Rio. She is an author of the book Hooked on Raw. which is a wonderful recipe book. She's a wonderful raw food chef. She also has her own radio show and on what was TribecaRadio.net, which is now NewYorkTalkRadio.net. And she's been creating programs where she interviews or she speaks herself with her vast amount of knowledge about healthy lifestyle and emphasizing raw foods. So Rio, yes.
Thank you, and don't forget, you used to be on New York Talk Radio.
Yes, Rio invited me to me and my business partner Mike Perrine. We had Vitality, which was a radio program.
Right.
We did 35 shows a few years ago.
Well, I'm into, I think, over 100 shows now. And I want to talk to you about doing a show, yes. Okay, well, I've been into the raw food movement for a very long time. I'm a long-time raw food enthusiast, and I've seen so many healings. Now, healing is a word that we're prohibited from saying. It's taboo. We can't say cure. We can't say heal. But the truth is that when you do add more raw foods into your diet, 50, 60, 80% and above, the health challenges that you may have start to fall away. So rather than say cure or healing, let's just say that those health challenges will be gone. They will be a thing of the past. I have seen it so many times, and I've interviewed so many people that have healed themselves from very, very serious diseases. I know that there's this one, the brother of, I forget his name, but anyway, his name is Ron Diamond. Harvey Diamond wrote a book called Fit for Life. And his brother, Ron Diamond, had 4th stage bone cancer. And there's no 5th stage. So I had interviewed him once, and then a TV show came to me and they said, we would like to talk to some people that have healed very serious illnesses. So I gave them his name, and somebody else's name, somebody called Cher Carden, who had also healed herself. So I gave them both names, and they interviewed Ron Diamond, and for this TV show. And in the process of losing and reversing and completely healing his bone cancer, he had also lost over 100 pounds. So when the interview came out on television, I was most surprised to find that bone cancer was never mentioned once. They edited that interview to only reflect that he had lost a ton of weight, but not the more serious bone cancer. So this is how our media censors things so that we don't get the complete information that we need to get. And it's one of the reasons that my partner, Lee Crezo, he had set up this New York Talk Radio because we wanted to be able to give the full story on situations like this. Of course, we're not as popular as the mainstream media, but hopefully we can move into those areas. The more that people ask for this kind of information to be presented on the mainstream, the more that we will get it. Because I believe very firmly that people have the power. You know, there's that old song, I think, who did that song, People Have the Power? Who was it? Well, I'll remember in a minute, but something Smith. Something Smith. Anyway.
Power to the People is John Lennon. Is that the
No,
one
there was
thinking?
another one, People Have the Power. And I think her last name was Smith. But anyway, people do have the power, because figure out this. The corporations that are undermining our society today, like the Monsantos of the world, they're just few. They're just very few. Yes, they're very wealthy, but they're still few. We, on the other hand, are 300 million here and billions worldwide that have a different view of the kind of life we want to live. We want to live and honor nature. We want to live according to nature's tenets. Most of us do, once we find out how beautiful and how faithful nature can be to us. So we have the power because most of us eat twice or 3 times a day. And that means we're spending money to buy that food. So that where we put our food dollars really, really matters. If we buy organic food, or even you can go to a farmer's market, the small farmer might not necessarily be organic, because when the USDA took over the organic standards, they made them a little difficult for small farmers to comply with. The paperwork is just very, very huge. So a small farmer would have to, like for example, I have a farm in upstate New York, and when I'm at the farm, I like to be out in the field with my crops, with my trees. I want to look at them. I want to see how my soil is doing. I want to see, I want to take care of business on the farm. I don't want to be inside of the house on the computer filling out forms and complying with all kinds of paperwork that makes no sense and makes no difference. Because if anybody wants to know about my farm and how I farm, they can just come to the farm. And if they want to see if I'm organic, they can see where I'm hiding my chemicals if I'm not. They can test the soil. They can test my vegetables, right? I don't have to sit there day in and day out and comply with all this paperwork that makes no sense. There's an easier way to do it. Just send an inspector out to my farm and test everything if they want. If there's some kind of doubt as to what I'm doing on my farm.
Well, there's a major support to companies like Monsanto, unfortunately, because of lobbyists, and it's very political.
It's very political, and the last thing I want to say, I don't want to take too much time in the beginning, but there is a bill before the Senate now. It's called Senate Bill number 510, and this bill is going to be death to small farmers, organic farmers, biodynamic and sustainable farmers. Because again, the paperwork, as terrible as it is now, it's going to multiply. And this bill also has provisions in it that are very damaging to small producers. For example, if you don't comply with that, excuse my words, stupid paperwork that you have to do, if you make a mistake on the paperwork, you're subject to fines. And the fines start at $100,000. Now, a small farm, I would be out of business like that. Well, I'm not in business yet. I'm setting up my farm. But hopefully I'll be in business next year. But anyway, what small farm can sustain that? And so we in the small farm community and in the organic community feel that bill is really a takeover of the food industry by the Monsantos of the world. And to back that up, Obama's transition ag team. You're going to cut me off. Okay.
I feel what you have to say is so important,
Yes.
but my job here
Yes.
is to keep things moving.
Okay.
But
Well, thank you for the
can
time.
ask her more about that later, if you'd like. So next on our panel, yes, let's give her a hand. As you can see, Rio is also an activist. Next we have the very lovely Lillian Butler, who is the owner of Raw Soul Restaurant here in New York City, which is a raw foods restaurant, of course. And many of you, if you've been here at all this weekend, have probably sampled their wonderful food. Her and her husband, Eddie, run this business, and they work very, very hard. And she's also an author. She came out with her first book not long ago. And if you're interested, whenever people come up to me and they're interested in learning more about raw food preparation, I always say, well, you have to go to Lillian Butler's classes that she has, where she shows you. She has these series of classes showing you how to make your own Rejuvilac or your own raw sauerkraut, or just dehydrating. So all of this foreign, new way of preparing food. So she is an expert in many ways. And Lillian, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am Lillian Butler, and my husband and I are owners and operators of Raw Soul Restaurant in Harlem. What we try to do is to get people to change their lifestyle and really give you the tools that you need to start making those changes. Because you go to an event like this and you get a lot of information, and you get back home, and what do you do with that information? Where do I start? How do I make this food? I heard it was really hard. I don't have time. Real life starts to take over. So what we like to do is really work with people and show them how to sprout, Show them the value in fermenting. Let them taste some wonderful, nutritious living foods, and really kind of meet you where you are and start you on that path to making the foods that you love. If you love collard greens, make those collard greens raw. If you love cheesecake, make a raw cheesecake. And that way that food becomes really exciting to you, and you are creating it yourself. You're not using somebody else's recipe, and it has your love in it. And then you can really start to share that food and that information with other people, and it becomes more of a natural process. So that's what we do, and I look forward to sharing more information with you. Thank you.
So now we'll open up the audience. If any of you have any questions, you can raise your hand. This gentleman right here.
Yes, I've been extremely impressed by all the speakers this whole weekend, and it's a little frustrating for me to see all these great ideas, but it seems like it's just grassroots, these ideas. Does anybody have any ideas as far as making these ideas mainstream? I know there's corporate interest and corporate lobbyists that are fighting it, but does anybody have
How do you mean mainstream? You mean like the TV media or?
I don't know how many hundreds of people here, but there should be 10,000, 100,000 people. That's a great idea.
Well, I could come up with a few reasons why, but let's first get Deborah.
Well, I just want to say our company is called Sky in the Pie Productions, Inc. A subsidiary is rawfooddvds.com. We are right now putting together a pilot to try to get this way more mainstream, either on Planet Green Channel or one of the health channels. We're doing everything we can to get this word out through the media. It's a process. Again, you know, it's all about the sponsorship. Whatever we're talking about, self-healing, preventive medicine, which is what this whole Living Foods lifestyle is, it's preventive medicine. And then the next commercial is, you know, an aspirin or a Tylenol or some weird drug with a name you can't even pronounce, and then they say, oh, you must take this. Of course, you might have diarrhea, constipation, and your head will fall off. But I mean, this is what we're up against is the pharmaceutical industries, big business, greed, corruption. I'm an activist as well as Rio is an activist. We are working this program the best we can. And yes, I don't want to say this, but it's true. The voice of God is on TV. People believe the TV commercials. They believe the programming. And it's all monkey see, monkey do. If you see someone, I mean, the most ridiculous products are out there. How about Febreze? You have to spray everything in your house with this freaking chemical. I mean, open a window. You know, wash your stuff in baking soda, vinegar, lemon juice. There's so many alternative ways to clean things in your home. But they have you buying a million products, air fresheners. I go into a ladies' room, I'm holding my breath because it's all toxic chemicals in there. I'd rather smell the person that was in there before. At least it's organic. So anyway, we are doing what we can. And also QUEST.TV, they're trying to do what they can. There's more programming on internet, but really the way to go is we've got to get that stuff off the TV and get the real information on that TV set. So I'm doing that.
We're going to have Chad first, and I'll let Queen Afila.
All right, thanks. You know, I really appreciate the desire to get it out there, and it feels like a daunting task because there's a huge population on the planet, and we feel like we're the only ones that know. But I also want to remind us that this process that we see happening in a caterpillar, when it transforms from caterpillar to butterfly, cell by cell, each cell has to make a choice for that metamorphosis. And when, this is a mathematical thing, when the square root of 1% of the number of cells get it, that's called critical mass. It doesn't have to be all of them, only a small percent. When that number happens, suddenly it becomes uploaded into like the quantum field, the collective consciousness, everyone gets it. In our world, we call that being on Oprah. Everyone knows. And at that point, kids would be like, we believe these hamburgers all this time, you know? But, you know, we've got to make a compelling story for ourselves. So you want to see it spread, take action, do it yourself so that you have a compelling experience. That's what's going to make your lips flap and spread it to the people in your world. And the cameras will be rolling. We got that part covered now. So.
And I know Queen Afila, do you have a comment?
Yes, I would say build circles of wellness. That's how you do it. We're a circle. The circle starts with inside yourself, connecting your heart to your lungs and your lungs to reproductive organs and that to the arteries, and build an internal wellness this week, today, now. And before you leave out of this room, find 3 other people, 4. 4 is the number for power, building, growing. If you can find 3 or 4 others who can gather, where 2 or more are gathered, and say, yes, let's go through 21 days of detox and cleansing. Let's raise our frequency. Let's heal ourselves. Let's become a miracle. And what happens after those 4 finish, then they have to go get another. And those 4 become 12, and it becomes 6, and it begins to grow. And just like we spread disease, disease spreads. Wellness can spread. And it becomes a wellness revolution, and the power is in the people. It happened in the 60s. I'm from the 60s. And I'm saying, let's do it again. You have the power.
Right. Which leads me to the work I do, which is I have a raw foods group here in New York City. Many of you may have attended some of my events. I've been hosting events for 15 years. My group is Accent on Wellness, and that's what my passion is, to gather people like we have here to inspire you to live a healthier life and to learn more about this raw foods approach and to cleanse your body. So if that interests you, if you'd like more of this and get support, gathering people, even if like you go to work and everyone thinks you're crazy because you're bringing in your green smoothie or your green juice every day, you have a place where you can feel normal. So I have my cards up here later if you'd like to find out more about Accent on Wellness. So let's take more questions. This lady in the back here.
Not a question, but you said getting the word out. I'm right here on XM Radio, Dr. Oz, the whole hour on vegan diet. So that's how the word gets out.
Yes. Also, Chris Carr, if you're familiar with her, Crazy Sexy Cancer. And you could check her out. She's got a great blog, a great website. And Oprah Winfrey has offered her a show. And she's been in her process of healing cancer. She's an incurable form of cancer, but she is living a full life with cancer, and it has shrunk with a raw foods diet. So the Oprah Winfrey Network. So that's in the works. Any more questions? This gentleman right here? Yes, Chad. Absolutely. So this gentleman would like to know more about superfoods.
Okay, so superfoods, okay, we all know that raw living food is wonderful, but within that, we've got a variety to choose from. We could choose lettuce, yeah? Lettuce is high water content, not a lot of nutrient profile. A superfood is something whose nutrient profile is so dense that you'd need literally a pickup truck full of something else to equivalent to the amount of nutrients in there. And so I like to say that superfoods are literally foods that wear capes, and usually they're exotic roots or barks or leaves from far-flung places in the earth where these rare plants happen to grow. And each and every one of these superfoods that we talk about has an ability to either catalyze a function in an organ, a gland, or restore harmony, health to the body. So you're going to hear about things like maca. Maca balances hormones. It brings energy and libido to people's lives. You can hear about things like cordyceps mushrooms or reishi mushrooms or chaga mushrooms, these rare mushroom species with rare chemistries that actually catalyze antioxidant, anti-cancer, all kinds of activities that are illegal to even talk about. But since I'm not selling any of those things, basically you can, there's so many different kinds of superfoods, but blue-green algae. Here's something that has a complete protein. It's got vitamin B12 analogs. Marine phytoplankton, the most nutrient-dense superfood on the planet, contains omega-3 fatty acids. It's got pure ATP. The significance of ATP in a food is astounding. What is ATP? It's actually every carbohydrate you ever eat. When I talk about carbohydrates and nutrition, all your body wants that carbohydrate for is to break down into something called ATP, and it's your body's primary money. It's the currency, energy, fuel. And it takes so much fuel, so much carbohydrates just to get a little ATP. Well, marine phytoplankton make it inside their body. So when you take a few drops of marine phytoplankton, you just bypass the need for a ton of mass of food. And when you get rid of the need for a mass of food, see, digestion is the most energy intense activity along with sex. Those are the two most energy intense activities for the human metabolism. So if you can bypass the need to digest in order to get energy. Instead of having to spend $500 to get $505 back for a $5 gain, it's like you didn't have to waste the $500 to begin with, so you're like up to 1,000 at the currency level of the energy body. So that's a superfood. And depends on your objective. If you're looking just to get healthy or if you're looking to heal, some superfoods taste great. Other ones are very medicinal. Goji berries, cacao, these border on superfoods. They're high energy, nutrient dense foods that have more power to the punch than, anything you could possibly buy as a vegetable, pretty much, So those kind of superfoods. We can, if you want to expand on questions with that, that's fine.
And Lillian has a comment for us.
Yes, I'd also like to say in terms of superfoods, there are some more basic things that you can do, like including sea vegetables in your diet, kombu, dulce, wakame, all of those sea vegetables that you can add to your salads, you can add to your soups. They are superfoods. They're complete proteins. Also sprouts. Any sprouts that you have, they're all superfoods. Another complete protein. People are always concerned about where you're getting your protein from. So if you're eating sprouts all the time, you're going to get lots of protein. And your wheatgrass juice and your barley grass juice, those are superfoods. Those are very accessible, and they're not so expensive. Okay?
Well, especially with the super. Oh, did you want to say something? Okay, just really quickly with the superfoods, the sprouting. What happens during the sprouting process is that the nutrients become bioavailable, which means the proteins in them are broken down into amino acids, the fats become essential fatty acids, and the carbohydrates become simple sugars. So when you're eating your sprouts, it goes right into your body and basically just hits your cells, and with tons of enzymes. It's jam-packed with fiber as well. So if you can just, again, you guys are starting out, so have your salad. When you leave in the morning, take some sprouts with you. You're going to have a salad for lunch. Dump some sprouts on there with maybe some soaked and sprouted pumpkin seeds or almonds. We'll get into that a little bit later. It's important to soak your nuts and seeds so that you're releasing enzyme inhibitors, and then they, again, also will break down so that they're more easily assimilated by the body. So all of these are nature's superfoods. And you just take some of those with you, get an organic salad for lunch, dump these on top, and you're good to go. Because again, these are living foods as well. It's not just about a raw food diet, it's about a living food diet. Go ahead, Rial.
I want to say that superfoods are wonderful. I have nothing against superfoods. But we have superfoods right here in the United States. And for example, maca is a South American turnip. So you can go to your supermarket or health food store and get some turnips and some rutabaga. It's fresh, it's not dried and powdered, it doesn't come halfway around the world, and you've got, well, maybe let's say maca is a little bit better than our homegrown turnips or rutabagas, but you know what? Turnips and rutabagas are damn good. So the other thing you can get here that is really a superfood, and most people don't take advantage of it, is we have edible wild vegetables. And for example, spinach is a wonderful vegetable, but its cousin in nature is called lamb's quarters. And lamb's quarters is so off the charts in nutrients, a spinach is just, pales by comparison. The other thing about the wild edibles is they grow out of the cracks in the sidewalk. So they're very, very powerful, and they will impart that power into you. Some of the herbs that have all these Chinese names, a friend of mine looked into those Chinese names, and it turns out that some of them are common things that we know about, like dandelion, like purslane, like all different edible wild foods that are here. We don't have to go to get Chinese herbs. We can just have them right here.
And Queen Afua?
Yes. Superfood for me is chlorophyll, sun. Don't get excited when summer comes and spring comes in, because it's a charge. You get revitalized. You go to a park, you go around trees, you get revitalized. So looking from the sun going into the plant through photosynthesis, you take that in on a daily basis. I call that the emerald green living. You know, the more greens you take in, the more it boosts up your immune system. It protects your nervous system. It restores the bones and the joints. And so maybe we don't have to have a hip replacement or a knee replacement, or maybe we don't have to have a nervous breakdown, because those superfoods of the green, taking your green literally all throughout the day. The minute that I came here, I said, where's my wheatgrass? You know, get a shot of wheatgrass. When I'm finished, I'm going to get another shot of wheatgrass. And that is, it restores everything, the tissues, the skin, the cells. It's that simple superfood. The other thing for me is frequency. I have a chart here, and this chart deals with frequency. I looked at the 4 food groups. We know about the 4 food groups almost killed us. Harvard University did research on that, and I talk about it in the Study of Wellness, and they found that it is really harming the people more than anything else. So I created what is called the 8 food groups. And when people are coming into this wellness, they don't know how to come into it. So I said, if you're going to have your proteins, go to the frequency. Everything is based on frequency. Crystals, stones, colors, your voice, your tones, your look, your foods. So the lower the frequency of the fats and oils, the denser the body is, the more you can have an aneurysm, a heart attack, or a stroke. The lower the frequency of of your calcium level, you should be able to go right up to the greens for your calcium. If you stay on the bottom and the base, that's the dairy. That's even the soy. So you have to come up the ladder. The lowest frequency of your protein choices, the meat and so on. Well, many of us have graduated, but some of us not graduated. Some of us are in the closet saying, I'm vegetarian, but really not. At nighttime, it hits you. So I'm saying is how to come up that frequency. And you said, well, okay, let me incorporate more greens, incorporate more sprouts. Because somebody said, I'm eating this stuff. This doesn't taste good. This is not exciting. We've got to come over to your place, you know. So, you know, you got to grow in the expansion. So the higher the frequency of your choices of sweets, because if you have the low frequency, you'll have mood swings. You'll have bipolar. You're happy one moment and you're off the next moment because you're up and down the ladder of the sweets. And you know that sugar is only a few molecules away from crack and cocaine, so most people are just drugged out. So that's not a superfood, but maybe stevia is, and maybe fresh juice is, and it goes on and on. So
I had a smoothie this morning. And in my smoothie, all the things that were mentioned, most of the things, I had marine phytoplankton, blue-green algae, my green powder, I had maca, I had my sprouts, I had my baby spinach, and I'm ready to go for hours. Hours and hours, good on that. Okay, who's really begging out there? How about this lady with the glasses and the dark hair? That's, yes.
With the advent of more skin cancer around, what do you suggest people do as far as preventing skin cancer? Is there anything you can eat rather than put on chemicals on your body? Or what do you think about sunblock?
I'd like to answer that one, but I can't. Does any of you have an answer? Rio, do you have an answer for that?
I think sunblock is unnecessary. Actually, new studies are coming out where they say a majority of people are deficient in vitamin D, and one of the big culprits is sunblock. What's wrong with a hat? You know, get a hat. You can still get some reflected sun and get your vitamin D. Also, the problem in northern climates like we are, we need to, escape to the south at least one time each winter and soak up some sun, because we don't get enough sun here in the winter. That's just a fact.
I personally, during the winter, take a supplement called vitamin D3 because obviously we're living in a northern climate. I've also heard that the reason people get skin cancer is because when they're eating a toxic diet, this is coming out through the skin, and when the sun hits the toxins on the surface of the skin, it will then start to mutate. Your cells will mutate. If you're eating a raw living food diet and very alkaline diet and you're healthy and your immune system is way high, you won't get the skin cancer. Now, there are UVA rays and UVB rays. You want to make sure that you're getting, okay, they're all coming through the sun. But when you're using the sunblock, you're cutting out usually the good rays, and just take a vitamin D supplement every day. There is vitamin D in some foods. Again, when you're eating all your nice dark leafy greens, that's your calcium source. They're sitting in the sun. They're absorbing the energy of the sun. It's literally, we are energy on a quantum mechanic basis. We are energy eating energy. What could be better than that?
This is so scrumptious up here. with these healers. Well, for me, I'm like remembering when I was 17, because this is when I got into this. I'm 50-something years now. But at 17, I had asthma, I had eczema from head to toe, I had arthritis, I had PMS, I had headaches, I had the works. So I was really sick and tired of being sick and tired. But one of the things I remember is I could not take the sun. If I went out into the sun, I would break out from head to toe. So I had to always be in the cold. But if I'm in the cold with the air condition, I couldn't breathe. So it was, no matter what I did, I was out of tune, bottom line. I was toxic. So you have to always look at yourself. I was toxic. So when the sun became my enemy, I was toxic. I would go around grass and trees. It should be a wonderful experience. But then the hay fever would set in. So the skin would break out. The hay fever would set in. The asthma would shut me down. So I was not able to be, the doctor told my mother, you should live in a glass house, bottom line. But what happened was the sun became my friend. Now, me and the sun have a beautiful relationship because I'm taking in the sun food. And the more sun food you take in, the healthier you're going to be with nature. You'll be in tune with nature. Because I'm taking in the green fields, I can lay down on green grass and do my womb yoga dance now without sneezing and scratching and tearing up my skin. So the more in tune you are with nature, the more you're able to take the sun, because you're literally eating the sun. It's a part of you. You're one with all the elements, air, ether, air, fire, water, earth. You are in tune. So the sun will not become an issue or an enemy. It becomes what you are. You are part of the sun.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that the skin is the largest excretory organ on the body, and so if we're eating an acid diet, where are those acids going to come out? Eventually out the skin. And I'll tell you, as a Norwegian by ethnicity, when I grew up, once upon a time, I too had a very toxic diet, which I thought was a healthy, balanced diet, and I would burn all the time. And the oddest thing happened that I didn't even expect when I started eating raw living foods. I didn't burn anymore. And I think it's just amazing. The heat and cold temperature, it's like nature embraces you. Like you're saying, nature embraces you. If our skin is reacting to the sun, we're out of harmony with the sun. And the sun has the information. So, that's why a lot of cultures, actually, they would stand barefoot on the ground because we're electromagnetic beings. And when we get our bare feet on the ground and put our eyeballs, which 80% of our rods and cones, scientists don't know what they do, but when you get the cones in your eyes and your retina on the sun and your feet on the ground, you begin to basically create a circuit with the universe. And it will tell you, it'll teach you all these things. This is stuff you don't have to have a book to teach you. It's all encoded in reality, and we all have access to it, but we tend to forget over time, and we call those the dark ages, but at the edge of every dark age, we wake up, and here we are.
Lillian?
I just have one quick comment. One thing you can also do is to really cleanse. The more cleansed you are, the easier it's going to be to get the sun, and also do some skin brushing. And ladies or men, if you have any cellulite, skin brushing is the key. Dry skin brushing. But that's also going to help to cleanse you, so that now that your skin becomes nice and smooth, but it will also help you to get the sun in. Okay.
I tested my D last March, a year ago last March, after the winter, and the range I was supposed to be in was 50 to 100, and my range was, or the number I came up with was 12. So I would take a multivitamin, a very good supplement that had 400 milligrams, not enough. Research has shown that everyone, vegan or not, needs to take 1,000 to 2,000 units a day. And if you are vegan and raw, you may be a little under. So I took 3,000 to 4,000 units for a year. So I strongly recommend you check that out when you visit your doctor. Next question. This lady right up front here. I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
The question was, well, what I was saying was that Obama has on his agriculture transition team somebody called Michael Taylor. And Michael Taylor was a lawyer for Monsanto, and he's the one that was brought in at the end of the first Bush administration around 1992. He wrote the policy that got us the RBGH, that's the recombinant bovine growth hormone that contaminates the milk here in the United States. He's the one that pushed that policy through, even though the scientists in the FDA were against that, but the policy people overrode the scientists and pushed that through. So with Michael Taylor at the head of Obama's ag transition team, what can we expect to happen? That's why I was saying this bill, may I mention the bill again? Okay.
Yes.
The bill is Senate Bill 510, and it will decimate small, organic, sustainable, and biodynamic farmers, because the type of things that they require you to do, small farmers could never possibly do. They're painting with one broad stroke, they're painting a small farmer that, let's say, could have 1 acre or 100 acres in the same way that a farmer that has tens of thousands of acres. Now, a farm that has tens of thousands of acres can afford certain things that a small farm can't afford. So there is an amendment to this. One senator farmer, his name is John Tester, and he put an amendment in the bill, or an amendment can be added to the bill, which would exempt small family farms from it. So I would suggest that you call your senators, because this bill is before the Senate now, and it's going to be voted on. The companion bill, the House bill, passed last year, last fall in the House. So now they're waiting for the Senate bill, and then they'll conform both bills. There's the Tester amendment would exclude the small farmers from these draconian measures. And don't forget that small farmers, they don't impact as many people as huge industrial farms. I mean, the reach of a small farmer is minor compared to the industrial farms. So even if you did have some kind of contamination in a small farm, it wouldn't impact that many people. And first, it would impact the farmer on that farm who's eating that food.
Just really quickly, I wanted to add that we have to remember we vote with our dollars. Now, you mentioned the 60s. Back then it was, hell no, we won't go to the Vietnam War. And nowadays it should be, hell why, we won't buy. That should be the mantra now. Because if it's organic and it's $5 a pound for your zucchinis, we still have to be buying them instead of the ones that are 99 cents a pound that are not organic. We have to support our local farmers. We have to buy local. Talk to your local farmers. Find out. Or your local grocers. Okay, we live in New York. I go to the local gourmet garage and I say, what happened to the organic lettuce? Oh, well, the shipment isn't coming in. They had some problem. We're not getting it for a couple of months. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to jump down to Whole Foods and get my organic lettuce. And it takes more effort. But if each individual here, and again, one person telling 5 people tells 20 people, we vote with our dollar. And that's the way to go up against agribusiness and the pharmaceutical industries and everything else. Heal yourselves.
More questions. Someone in the
Can I
back.
add some?
How about Victoria in the back?
I know our movement is criticized for being expensive and elitist, and I understand that sprouts and wild greens and that kind of thing is cheap, but when you go to the health food store, the organic roasted nut butter is $4 or $5. The organic raw nut butter is 3 or 4 times that. Why can't you do anything about it?
You can make your own. I can give you a recipe to make your own. Big bang for the buck. Okay, anyway, later.
And I have over 250 recipes inside my book, The City of Wellness, how you could begin to take the food into your own kitchen. I say that your kitchen is your pharmacy. And if you work your kitchen as a pharmacy, you save money on healthcare or self-care, first of all. And so when you take healthcare or self-care and you know that, okay, cucumbers is good for my kidneys, and turnips is good for my bones and joints, and cranberries is good to clear out my circulatory system. I don't have to have numbing of my feet and my hands, and the green foods is good for the brain cells. When you start to understand how the foods connect to your 5 elements inside of your body, and you start to connect the food to your health, how much money are you saving? You know, and what about your vitality? And what about your creativity? And what about your genius coming out because you have all this energy? So yes, food is medicine. And then inside of that, you form co-ops. You start to wake up. Because, you know, science says we use 10% of our brain. That means 90% is dead of our body, mind, and spirit. What happens when we start to wake up? That's why live foods are important. Because live foods help you to wake up. It helps you to be more sensitive and conscious.
Rio just had a little comment, and then we're going to move on.
Okay. And I just wanted to say that it's still less expensive than going to the doctor later.
Okay.
And there's other things that we can do to get free food. Don't forget that over 100 years ago, there weren't any supermarkets. There weren't any supermarkets. People had kitchen gardens. And if, let's say you're living on a block, right, with houses on both sides of the block, the block can get together and create their own food. For example, one family can grow an apple tree, the next one can have a pear tree, the next apricot, the next, and share it, because no one family is going to eat all the apples that come out of that diverse crop. So people can share. And as a matter of fact, there's a lady in Pasadena, California, who had bought a piece of property, and there was a lot of fruit and other types of food on her property. And she would see every year that it would go to waste because her family couldn't use it. And she felt something in her heart, why is this food going to waste? And she got the idea, let me get together with the community and let's do some barter. I'll give you oranges, you give me apples, I'll give you this, you give me that. And she created a whole community down there in Pasadena doing that. And I think that that's doable. I suggested that she write a book, and she's in the process of writing a book about it.
That's great. We're going to move on.
Please, one.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I just basically want to say when I went raw overnight basically to save my life, and I didn't have the money. I took a leap of faith, and I didn't have the money. And there was no other alternative. But what I saw happen was that my game went up. $1 million ideas were a dime a dozen. And I tell you what, in that state, $2 difference in raw food, man, how could I afford not to? And that's where it's at.
The handling of that nut butter, I suppose when it's raw, they have to handle it more carefully when they're making it, and that's why it costs more. This lady over here is just standing up. She means business. Okay. She was wondering how much water to drink, what kind of water. Any of you?
As long as your water is free of chemicals, you're okay. For example, I have what's called an RO filter. That's reverse osmosis. Now, people are telling me, oh, that's no good. Now it has no minerals. If you're eating, as you mentioned, your dulse, your seaweeds, sea vegetables, some algae, and most foods, you're getting your minerals back in. If you're worried about your water not having the proper ionization and it's not structured water, you can put your glass of water in the sunlight, give it a stir, and you are now restructuring it again. Your cells know what to do with water. There's a lot of smart water out there. There's a lot of talk about making water molecules smaller. Listen, animals, creatures have been drinking normal water out of streams for many, many years, and we're all just fine. So get a good filter, because you don't want chlorine. For example, if you're trying to sprout, believe it or not, and you're using chlorine water to make sprouts, they will not grow for you. It has to be purified, filtered water. Some people like the distillation method. Whatever sings to you is fine. Anyone else?
Chad?
If you're dead set on ionization equipment to do ionized water or alkaline water, if you're doing really alkaline water right before you eat, it could actually interfere with digestion a little bit because you need some acid in the stomach. But it is also very powerful. If you drink that stuff on an empty stomach, it can alkalize you very quick, and you need to be careful because it can be you can overdo it with those things as well. But the other thing with those equipment, they also do something called oxidative reduction potential of the water, which means it becomes an antioxidant and it oxygenates the blood. That's a secondary benefit of the alkaline water equipment, but it's definitely not necessary. You can treat the water with your energy, with your love. You can oxygenate it by stirring, all that kind of stuff. But alkaline water is very important.
Lillian Butler.
Also, you just want to stay away from bottled water. I mean, you're really kind of throwing your money down the drain, in my opinion, because it's put in a bottle, and it's most of the time it's in a plastic bottle, and that's what you don't want. So really invest in a good home filtration system. That would be the first thing to do. And decide what is best for you. Have your tap water tested to see what's in it. And once you know what's in it, you will know what type of filter to buy to remove those pollutants. You can call the city and ask them to come and test your water. And I think now they charge you a very small fee for that. So it also shower filter, right? Skin is the largest detoxification organ. So anything that you're putting on your skin, you're putting in your body. So you have to, it's so important to have a good shower filter as well. Because if you don't, it's almost like drinking that tap water because it's going into your body. And in terms of how much water to drink, the kind of rule is half your body weight in ounces of water. Some people don't agree with that, but whenever you feel hungry, drink water. Drink water, drink water, drink water. So try to get at least 4 to 8 glasses of water a day.
Queen Afua.
Yes, I say, well, I have a machine. I have the Kagan machine. I'm not trying to endorse the machine, but it has been effective, and it purifies and takes all the chemicals out. And then one of the people that I studied with, he's a raw foodist. He's in my book. Aris, some of you who know Aris, and he'd have coconut fast. You know, your whole week on coconut. He said he would always say that was the purest water in the world. And then also for me, in the work that I do, I would say to pace yourself with the water, so it's incorporated throughout your day. Take 16 ounces of every liquid. Like you have a liquid meal, have a solid meal. A liquid meal, a liquid breakfast, solid. A breakfast, a liquid lunch, a solid lunch, a liquid dinner, a solid dinner. So you're having your water from your greens, your green juices. Use that as your water. Also take your water from your purifying systems when you have your liquid meals to allow that 75% of water to flow through your body so it's not dammed up, and we call that disease.
Any more questions? This lady in black. Oh, you. Yes, you. So her question is, if you have a health problem, just so everyone can hear, if you have a health problem and you want to heal and you're doing raw foods, should you go back to your doctor, check in with your doctor with that transition time?
Respond. Yes. I'm going to do a disclaimer. If you're seeing your physician, continue seeing your physician. And then after 21 days of cleansing, detoxing, rejuvenating the body, go back to your physician. Be examined again. And they'll say, oh, you're 40%. Well, they may not say percentage, but, oh, your pressure's down. And, you know, they'll see the shift, and they can now pull back on the medication as opposed to you just jumping like I did, like you did. We jumped. We try to save our lives. So we had to pull whatever we had to pull. But for the average person, I would say, you know, do it that way. And over a season, you go back another month, and you go check again. Because you don't want to be on medication that you don't really need. But if you jump from one extreme to the next, because it takes a minute for the food to get in there and begin to restore tissues and cells and muscles and nerves, and you don't want to have a heart attack. You say, well, I was on my green juices, and you wasn't ready to really come totally off of it. So I say, you know, work with both the allopathic and the holistic as a transition until you become independently healthy.
And also, you want to find a doctor who is going to work, Deborah.
It's okay.
Is going to work with you in your healing. So you need a naturopathic doctor or a doctor who really understands what you're trying to do to heal yourself so that you guys are working together. It's not that, you know, the doctor knows everything and he's telling you what to do and you have to do it, but also that he respects what you do in your opinion and you're working together to create wellness.
Deborah.
I just want to say there are times when you do need to see a doctor. Wednesday, when I needed 15 stitches, I didn't rely on raw living foods. There are times you got to see your doctor. However, I will say in the past, I've been diagnosed with some terrible things, and I was supposed to have a hysterectomy. when I was in my 30s, early 30s, and I said no. I went second opinion, I said no. Third opinion, I still said no, I'm not doing that. I'm too young for this. Guys, I didn't need the hysterectomy. I healed myself. Now, another problem, though, I do have Hashimoto disease. It runs in my family, which means I have no thyroid at all, and I am on medication for that for the rest of my life. It depends. But always take your power back. Listen to what the doctors say. You make the ultimate decision. When I went back to the doctors, they said, oh, you're going to be in really bad shape if you don't have this hysterectomy. And then they saw that I was completely healed, and I had a 2-pound water cyst that disappeared on the Stairmaster, by the way. Everything else, they said, oh my, what did you do? I said, I meditated with a crystal over the cyst for 2 months. And I ate tons of garlic, which is a natural antibiotic. Watermelon cleanses infection out of the bloodstream. Beets, another good blood cleaner. I healed myself, and they were like, oh, well, the body can heal itself sometimes. They were so shaken up. But yeah, you know, it's not like don't see the doctor. See the doctors, meditate, commune, figure out what you can do in conjunction with the medication, and you'll find you heal a lot quicker, too, if you're 100% raw and doing the detoxifications and the cleansing, the energy soups, some green drinks, the wheatgrass, all of this will make you heal like that.
Well said, well said. This lady right up front here.
My name is Elchin. I'm a raw food chef, and I have a question. Many clients of mine are asking, they're saying, fish oil versus flaxseed oil for the memory, for the good fats, for the people who have low good cholesterol. That you would be surprised. It is a good thing, but it is not such a good thing when the memory is not working very well.
So her question is
fish
oil versus flax oil, any of the vegan, seed-based oils, and that in relation to memory. With Chad.
Yes, so that's a very important question. We need our omegas. People look to salmon and fish for that. But here's the thing. There are plants with greater concentrations. Flaxseed oil is not appropriate for all people, especially men, because it can throw the hormones out of balance. It's got phytoestrogens in it. Hemp seed is a far better choice, but that too is unstable. It needs to be refrigerated. It can have rancidity that we can't even taste sometimes. So one thing that I discovered that I think is really cool, it's called Sacha Inchi oil. That's SACHAINCHI. Sacha Inchi. It's a Peruvian nut, and it's higher in omega-3s than salmon oil, and it's stable at room temperature, making it a perfect raw food oil that you can travel with. But flax versus hemp, I'd definitely go with hemp. You're welcome.
Lillian.
Chia seeds. Everything you need. Complete protein, has more omegas than flax. It's very stable. It's very easy to use. I would start incorporating that if you're a chef into your foods. You can make chia seed crackers. We make a beauty chip. It's good for the skin. It's an old Incan superfood. You know, keep it simple. I mean, you spend so much money going into a health food store buying all of these supplements. Try to be more natural and try to incorporate more whole foods into the diet, and that's going to give you everything that you need. Not just the omegas, but also is a complete food. It's going to give you the fiber. It's going to give you the protein as well.
I'm going to interrupt
also
there. Deborah,
walnuts
I'd like to interrupt there.
and sesame seeds.
Okay, that's fine. But I just wanted to let you know I need to say something here because on my path, year 14, I developed a rash all over my body. And I couldn't understand what was happening to me because eating so healthy. And my doctor, who is a raw foodist, Dr. Thomas Lodi, who's no longer in New York City now, but he was able to pinpoint right away that I was extremely deficient in omega-3 and 6. So I got the information early on to avoid oils. So many of the educators say, you shouldn't do oils because it's not a whole food, it's fragmented. So I avoided them. I was a very good raw foodist, and I developed this deficiency because even though I was eating walnuts, and I was eating flax and all of this, I'm one of these people who was not absorbing from my green leafy vegetables and my seeds the omega-3 and 6. And so I just overdid it on my flax and borage oil. It took 2 years, but I just tested last year, and this is 7 years ago. this all happened, and I haven't had a rash in 7 years, but I tested last year, and my omega-3 and 6 is right on, beautiful, well within range. So some of us may not absorb from the nuts and seeds. I personally highly recommend that you take in your oils. And Udo Rasmus, Udo's Choice Blend, you've heard of that. He makes a blend, so you don't have to figure out what to combine. He recommends a half of a tablespoon for every 50 pounds that you weigh of these oils. Udo's Choice Blend, UDO''S, and that will be a blend that will supply you with the right ratio of omega-3 and omega-6. It's a 3-to-1 ratio. More questions? How about, let's see. Oh, this lady along the wall here.
I wanted to know, how do you determine how much probiotics or enzymes are necessary each day?
How much probiotics and enzymes should one have each day? Lillian.
I say let your body be your guide, because if you are deficient, you will be tired, you will not have enough energy, and you will be constipated. If you're constipated, you know that you need some more probiotics, that your intestinal tract is imbalanced, and if you don't have enough energy, then you know that you're going to need some more enzymes. So there's really no formula to say you need this much, but you really have to be in tune with your body and listen to that. And the more raw foods that you eat, the more fermented foods that you eat, the fermented foods are going to give you the good lacto-healthy bacteria that your body needs to fight off the bad guys, but also to balance your digestion. You see a lot of commercials right now about eating yogurt and all of these new products that are coming out that have natural probiotics in them. But really, fermented foods are your natural probiotics. So make some sauerkraut, make some Rejuvilac, and get your fermented foods in there, and I'm sure that you'll start feeling a lot better, and you'll have great bowel movements. And that's what we all want. You know, that's what keeps us energized. That's why we eat, to get the nutrients in. We want to digest the food, and then we want to eliminate it. And the problem comes in the elimination of the food, and you definitely need the probiotics to do that well.
Deborah.
In the health food store, like $28 for a bottle of probiotics. Let me just say, you can make wonderful fermented foods, as you just mentioned yourself, and it has the fiber. Right after this, I'm giving a class on how to make your own sauerkraut, yogurt, cheese. It's easy, it's not expensive, and it's got the real living enzymes and living Acidophilus bifidus and lactobacillus in it. And those are the good guys, the friendly flora that will go in there and aid your digestive process. So, yeah, you don't get it in a bottle. It's really easy to learn how to make it yourself.
Queen Afua?
I was a colon therapist, an active colon therapist for about 15 years. And it's, it's what we eat, it's our movement, it's our water. Most of the times we're dehydrated, our colon is dry and hard, and we're not taking enough live foods in. And so all of this has impact on the state of your colon and how much you digest, because you can take a lot of food and you're not digesting the food. And then emotional balance. So it's body, it's mind, it's spirit, it's the live enzymes, it's the motion, it's the water. All of this will help with the digestion of your food.
Chad.
There are about 8 species that are typically talked about, like L. bifidus, but there are actually over 50,000 species of these microorganisms that we call beneficial bacteria, and each and every one of them have a unique role that they can actually excrete things that are super nutrients for our body and catalyze both genetic and metabolic reactions that are not available unless they're present. In nature, we would get this because the food that we eat is not completely washed. There's some microorganisms from the environment in which we live. And so there's, if you're really interested, Dr. David Jubb has been experimenting with creating these microorganism cultures that are cultured with native indigenous plants, so that all the microorganisms that are going to be symbiotic for your body are present. And it's amazing. I actually had like a tablespoon of this black mud mixed with honey, and you eat it, and I didn't eat for almost 2 days as my body replenished with all these microorganisms. And I'll tell you what, it's an absolutely profound experience. I don't know how to describe it, But you know, it's just a glimpse into the far side. Have a nice day.
This
That's
lady
not the
in
far side.
front row here.
I like
Yes.
that.
I understand that by the time you feel thirsty, you're usually dehydrated.
Yes.
What about hunger? By the time you feel hunger, are you deficient or should you wait to eat until you're hungry?
She has a question about hunger in terms of, you know, if we feel thirsty, usually it means we're very dehydrated, but with hunger, what does that mean? Are we deficient in some way with that? Or should you wait until we're hungry to eat? Anyone have any comments on that? Queen Afua?
Yes. Food, we're eating all the time. We're eating what we see. We're eating our relationships. We're eating everything. Everything is constantly ingesting. So we need nourishment. We need nourishment 3 times a day: sunrise, midday, sunset, and then a liquid meal maybe in the evening time to keep the balance, to keep the inner harmony of the body. But what happens is we go to extremes, and we can tell. We can just check ourselves. We may miss our breakfast because we're on the run, grab something. And then midday, we're running, trying to finish up stuff, we're eating and working. And so when we get home, we're all stressed out. We're angry, we're stressed, we're everything. So we overeat. And so we eat at night. And so we end up making up all those meals. And we'll say, well, you know, I missed my breakfast, I missed my lunch, so now you have 3 meals at dinner time when the body's not even going to process or handle it. So I would say to spread out the day as the sun is coming up, you're having your nourishment, liquid and solid meals. As the day is in the middle of the day, when the energy is at the highest point, you have a liquid meal and a solid meal again. And then when the sun is going down, you have a smaller meal as the sun is going down so you can process and use the food. And then in the evening time, then you have another liquid meal. And in a week, 21 days, your body is balanced. And so you're not from one extreme to the next. And we are malnourished. We're taking a lot of food, but you know how America's obese. They say America's obese, right? Not in this room, but America's obese. And that's because we're eating a lot of empty foods. And they're not real food. First we have to identify what's real food. And so real food comes out of this earth. Real food comes off of a tree. Real food comes out of the ocean and plant life. Everything outside of that is processed, is microwave, is fast foods, is dead foods. It's not real foods. I call that substance. Real food has value. Real food builds, heals, rejuvenates, balances, harmonizes. It does a lot of work. But inorganic, unreal food will destroy the body, and that's why America's sick and obese, because we can eat a lot of food all day long. You see about the 500-pound man or woman, you know, and they're constantly eating. That's the whole thing. They're eating all day long. But are they really eating? Are they really nourishing themselves? So we have a lot of empty foods, empty calories, empty lives, empty relationships. And so that's how come we're off balance. We don't know when we're supposed to eat, when we're supposed to drink, but the body speaks to you, and it will talk to you, and it will tell you, now you need your water, now you need to eat. And then you'll come to these conclusions on your own as well.
Rio?
At the beginning of a raw food diet, when you're just starting out, you may feel very hungry. Because don't forget that you're going from very heavy food, dense food, to very light food. So at the beginning of a raw food diet, you can, you know, I had a client once and I was counseling him and he said, but Rio, I'm so hungry. I eat a big breakfast and then by the time I get to school, I'm hungry and I you know, take a salad with me and I eat that. By the time I get home, I'm hungry again. And he was hungry all the time. And I said, just give it a chance, give it a chance. And like 3 months later, he was looking over his emails to me and he said, who is this guy? Who is this guy? I don't know this guy. Because, see, what happens is, in the beginning, you need more food because your body, in essence, your cells are telling you, wow, this is good stuff. Give me more, give me more. It never had this in its life. But once you get fully nourished, that will ease out. And I personally don't think you need to eat 3 times a day. Sometimes 2 times a day is enough. Sometimes, like Donna says, when you have a smoothie that has everything in it, it can keep you going all day. So it depends on the person. That's an individual choice.
Well, we only have time for one more question, but it has to be from somebody who hasn't asked a question, which I believe is the lady in blue.
I have to get a new food processor and blender, and I'm a little confused by all the choices that are out there. Can you all give me some guidance, please?
A food processor that our panel could recommend, and a juicer. And please keep your answers short because we are running out of time.
All right. Well, as far as the blender goes, Vitamixes are awesome. I have something called a BlendTech 2000. It can juice a 2x4. It's 3.5 horsepower. You can power a go-kart with it.
That's short and sweet.
Yeah, I have both of those also, but if you're starting out and you don't want to spend the money, you could get anything from a Waring to an Oster. I even have a Cuisinart. It will burn out, though. The more you, eventually it will burn out. But anything with ice crush capacity, you can start making these wonderful green smoothies that I'll be talking about in a few minutes.
Anyone else? Lillian?
Food processor, Cuisinart, you can get that at Macy's. It works great. Get a 9-cup or a 7-cup. Juicer, I like the Breville. I mean, it's very easy. It's very easy to clean. It's $200 at Bed Bath & Beyond. It's a nice starter juicer. And then if you want something that will also give you your nut butters and things like that, and or do your wheatgrass all in one, I like the Samson 6-in-1.
Okay. So, panelists, now that we're coming to an end, I would like each of you to share some lasting impression you'd like our audience to walk away with today, and also a little bit about how people could learn more about you, maybe your website information, or how they could maybe contact you. So, closing comments. Chad.
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for coming. Really, just do it. There's nothing better you can do for yourself than to make a few choices that create a whole new game field. This is a game changer. Everything we think is impossible for life becomes possible when we're full of energy, our mind is super clear with creativity, and you feel abundant. There's nothing you can't accomplish in your life, so it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And if you're already 50% or 60%, it's worth it to take the next step every time. And I'm really here to explore the cutting edge, ask what are people for, and then look at it from a metacosmic scientific perspective and say, yeah, there's no right or wrong, but what works? What is our objective? What works for that? And you can find some of the things that I've been exploring at chadashleyvandenberg.com. That's my blog. I'm just building it now. And you can also see me at 5 o'clock. I'm going to be right here in this room. We're going to be talking about how to achieve a superhuman body, mind, and mood, and how to get all the elements in the periodic table into your body and the relationship between the genetic pathways and these rare trace elements. So thank you very much. I'm Chad Ashley Vandenberg. See you later.
It was interesting. I was looking at the masculine and feminine energy. The feminine energy was always standing up, projecting, and we were always internal. I'm going to stand up for my balance, so thank you. I'm excited today because I am presenting. First of all, thank you. Thank you. It was great being with everyone here. I'm going to be presenting a new body of work, which is Womb Yoga Dance at 2 o'clock, so I hope as many of you can come to that particular session. And it's based on Overcoming an Angry Vagina, Journey to Womb Wellness. That's my new book coming forward. But all my work is based...
again, nice and loud.
You want to hear that one again?
The name of your book. I want to hear that again.
It's not out yet. It will be out July the 17th. The name of the book is Overcoming an Angry Vagina, The Journey to Womb Wellness. And it's all based on natural living, natural foods, the 5 elements, womb circles, creating a new world from the womb. All womb centers, men and women, we're going to work together to create a whole new world because we're tired of bad news and all of that. But I say to everyone, take a walk, take a journey today. Let today be your beginning. We are all here for you. So you have a plethora of ways and means to do it, but just do it. And don't be overwhelmed because this could be an overwhelming weekend. But I'm excited because you're here. So take all that you can take, but start now. Do not procrastinate. Do not wait. Do 1 day of live foods. Or do 7 days of live foods. Or do 21 days of live food. And then watch and journal every day. How do you feel today? And how do you feel the next day? And it will speak for itself. I invite you to take the book, The City of Wellness, get the recipes, get the natural healing. You can reach me at www.QueenAfua, QUEENAFUA.com. And I thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, as you just mentioned, it's wonderful that you're all here and willing to learn. There might be a little bit of overload. So if you'll join me right after this, we can continue all of these conversations and learn a little bit more about some easy baby steps, because otherwise it is overwhelming. But there are small things that you can start with right now that will start making a big difference. I have tons of recipes here. I have DVDs from the masters, Gabriel Cousins, MD, Victoria's Kulvinskas, some other things, and I just came out with this recipe DVD, and it's health and weight loss, but it's really everything that you need to know for your baby steps and keep you on track, because it's very hard to remember. There's just so much input in 3 days. I can also be reached at rawfooddvds.com. And join me right after this. We'll continue everything from 1 to 2 in the Herald Square room right here on the 3rd floor.
I want to say a word in behalf of kindness. I know most of you are just getting into this, and it's very important to be kind to yourself, because it's not easy to make changes, and these are some monumental changes to go from cooked food to raw food, or even partially raw food. And there's a wonderful book out there. It's called Your Body Believes Every Word You Say, or something like that. It has a title like that. And so when you look at yourself and you say, I failed, well, you're telling your cells that you failed. So even if, let's say, you took a misstep, you took a step forward and 2 steps back, just keep going with it. Be kind to yourself, because if you persevere, you will get there. And each day that you stay on raw or high raw, it will get easier and easier. And the reason is the body is assisting you, because it becomes each day more and more alkaline. And when you are fully alkalized, it's easy. It's easy. Like the other day, someone had asked me, well, what do you eat? This was like somebody wanted to interview me, and they were getting like a feel for what I was going to say. Well, what do you eat? I says, you don't want to know what I eat, because it's so simple. But if I go on your show, I will tell people something that they will like to eat. You can't go from me, because I've already been in this a long time. So again, be kind to yourself. Don't berate yourself. Don't put yourself down. Don't beat yourself up. And I just want to also say that at booth, I think it's 104, the book publishing company has my book. It's called Hooked on Raw. And then I have a DVD called What's Not Cooking in Rio's Kitchen. They have it there too. And my website, which has a ton of information on it, is rawfoodinfo.com. Thank you.
I would just like to say to breathe. Take a good breath. And remember to breathe. I mean, because that really is the key, getting all of that oxygen in. You know? This is a lot of information to absorb. And we want to make sure that you start on the path right. So think of one thing that you can do to really start on that path. You know, whether it's, getting rid of the white sugar, or drinking wheatgrass juice every day. But make a commitment to do at least something starting right now. I am having a workshop at 5 o'clock called Designing a Raw Food Lifestyle, and I will really help you to put all of this into perspective and take the next step. I am at booth 305 downstairs. We have some wonderful raw food. We have some pizzas, soups, salads, burgers, all of the things that we love, but it's all very, very tasty, and it's all very nutritious. You can contact me at www.rawsoul.com. We have a restaurant in Harlem, 348 West 145th Street. Thank you so much, everyone.
And my name is Donna Peroni, and I am speaking this afternoon at 4 o'clock. I'm speaking on the topic of the power of food cravings right here in this room. If you're interested in raw food events, getting more of this and getting support and information, you might want to check out my booth. I have a wellness center called Gravity East Village. I'm a colon hydrotherapist. So I have few things that I do here in New York City. You could find my booth. It's kind of near the Vitamix area in the Crystal Room. Or you could come up and just pick up some of my cards that has my information. So I want to thank all our panelists. What a great panel we had today. So much information, so much great energy. And I want to thank you, audience, for attending. And you just have a wonderful day today.